the top of our head, we'll blag it all. I've got cards because my recruitment hat doesn't stay on very much anymore. People that know me well know that my heart is very much within Sales Academy rather than the world of recruitment. And actually talking about recruitment from a theoretical perspective, I found quite hard. So here are my cards. So those who don't know me, my name is Amanda Deer. I am co-owner of Sales Academy 2012, along with my absolutely nightmare business partner, Adam Brooks, who's in the bar, already hammered by the time I get out. Problems. We are obviously proud sponsor of I Am Women in Cheltenham, and I'm also owner of Virtual Recruitment. I started in the world of recruitment in 1998, and since then I have billed over £1.6 million worth of fees. So I've kind of done it a few times before, ladies, so if you've got any questions, now is the time. I'm here to talk to you about the recruitment process. I'm here to talk to you about my 5-step recruitment process. Before I start, on the tables, you will find forms. On those forms, we talk about strategic planning, business coaching, putting yourself first, which is about getting the right job for you in an employed position, and the full day recruitment process. So I am currently trying to get 15 years of experience into 15 minutes, and I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do it. So programs for individuals within Sales Academy start from, strategic planners in the room, start from 49
Yay! And it's brilliant.
Thank you very much. So now I've got the sales pitch out of the way, we're going to get on with some learning. So my 5-step recruitment process will give you a flavour of what is involved when recruiting a new team member into your business. But before we get to that, who watches Mock the Week?
Yay!
Cool. So I'm going to throw some numbers up here, and I want some ideas as to what these numbers might mean. I'd quite like to be amused. These may be a prize. They may not be. I can do it without the size. Right, so your first number is 2.5 billion.
The number of men out there I've not met
yet. Anybody else on 2.5 billion?
The number of glasses of wine I've drunk in my life. Not actually.
Yeah. 2.5 billion is pounds. So 2.5 billion pounds, according to REC, which is the Recruitment Association, this is the amount of money spent on permanent placements in 2012. That's fees. Fees generated. Wow. Now, just so you know, the temp market in recruitment is much bigger. Temp market in 2012 was around 20 billion quid. So there's a couple of quid in recruitment, which is why we smile at times. And that's the only reason. So, 22,050.
The number of messages I've received since I joined the Telegraph dating site.
According to Reed, this is the average salary for a sales administrator in your business. That's quite a bit. Very good for paying that much. 14,538.
School leaver salary.
Minimum wage salary.
That's a bit funny, Linda.
Yeah, it's not funny at all, is it?
Yeah.
If you only want to earn that, you should start your own business, huh?
I've got a solution for that.
35,154.
I think that's my shoe bill.
Average basic salary of salesperson. Basic salary. Really? Yeah. And salespeople have cars, commission, private healthcare, pensions, lots of other stuff. Now bear in mind this goes from telesales-people to sales directors. So the average is going to be dragged either way. But yeah, 35 grand about. £4,500. Average recruitment
For one
That's it,
person?
For one person.
Wow.
Why did you give it up?
I haven't given it up. 6.31 is, as of October, will be the minimum wage if you're over 21.
And £2.92 at Waitrose an hour.
It's terrifying, isn't it? So when did you know when employees 15, 16 months anymore, is it? You get great now. 48.
£1 less than your
That's good.
strategic planning.
Good plug.
Or to the class. Georgina, 48.
Redundancy. Hours in a working week.
Yeah. Working time? Yes, apparently. When you're supposed to work 48 hours a week, okay.
Wow.
22%.
My birthday next year.
22% is the average fee charged in the UK for recruitment. So basic salary normally. And basically, if you work the fee out based on the hourly rate and the average percentage, you get £3,198 minimum wage person, lowest of the low. Cost you £3 to get through me. Exactly. Great for me. So can we agree there's some big numbers there?
Oh, yeah.
And it's a significant investment recruiting. So you're going to have to help me out because I've got a bit of a problem in this recruitment world of mine. Someone rings me up, I'd like to recruit. Okay, what would you like someone to do? Brilliant. Or two other options. So we either get stuff or we get War and Peace. Big job spec, 15 pages long. It's all the shit that I don't want to do anymore. Get someone to do all of that. I haven't got a job title, it doesn't matter. I want someone to do all of that. Or you get someone's left, I want an exact clone and copy of that person. Other than that, it's all the same. Recruitment is a process. It's a series of stepping stones.
Ooh.
Oh, that's my next do.
I went on to Google Images to find an image of some stepping stones. Now, I have no idea
Did you get
why
distracted?
James Campbell came up. I thought it would have been wrong of me not to share it with you. And I, for one, am very, very pleased. So anyway, he's gone now. Recruitment is a process which is a little bit like making cottage pie. Some people will know,
Not the
and
pie.
some people won't. But leave it there. Leave it there. So if you know your stepping stones, you know the direction you're going, and you will reach your destination, which all sounds really, really obvious, doesn't it? So step one, we're going to start at the very beginning, which is a very good place to start. So we need to create our specs, and we need to look at the processes within a business to ensure that we create the right specs and prevent panic purchasing. Does everyone know what that means?
I just wish I could say it.
Everyone looks blank. So what we do is we break down your business to see what your business actually needs, so that you recruit what your business needs and not what your ego wants. You would be amazed the amount of clients that say, well, what does the competition pay a national account manager, because I'll pay £5 more.
Really?
Because, yeah, so all of the pissing contact, essentially. So if you have your business processes done, which you will learn how to do very effectively on strategic planning, you'll know your business organisation chart. So foundation day people, don't be sick, there it is again. So doing this and working out the processes underneath all these stages or within an organisation chart helps you see the gaps in your business, so you know who and what to recruit. So you do this, you create this big list of things, you've got a wonderful wish list, and now you've got to split it down. You've got to look at your must-haves, your desirables, and your nice-to-haves. So my top tip within this section is compromise. So you might want a 16-bedroom house in the country with David Beckham as your butler. But the reality is you can afford a one-bedroom bedsit somewhere not very nice. So we compromise every day. Everyone compromises, even men apparently. I would like to say. Got exact. So you work out who they are, what they do, what money they're on, what car they drive, how many kids have they got, are they male, are they female. You're not telling the world. The police won't come and arrest you if you suddenly decide you want to recruit a woman. But you can't advertise that. That's why people use recruiters. So they can ring up and say, don't send me no birds that are going to get knocked up, Amanda.
Oh.
They do. They said that. No, but I had a client who actually said that to me. Don't send me no birds that are going to get knocked up. Okay.
If he can't talk proper, you wouldn't want to work for him anyway.
There's a word for recruiters, like I used to be, and that term, and that term is money hungry poor. I'm recovering. So now we're ready to search. We've got a lovely job spec, it's all sorted. So we're ready to search. So where are we going to search for these candidates? Any ideas?
Google.
Yeah?
LinkedIn.
Yeah? LinkedIn, brilliant, because you can't lie on LinkedIn.
Why not?
Because the chances are your current employers will be on LinkedIn. It will be everything's very, very clear. So you can't go, yeah, of course I worked for ICI for 10 years. Because actually, it's all linked to the businesses. You might have been there 5 minutes. So, job boards. Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, really good place to look. It can be expensive, and recruiters have an advantage because we block by adverts. It can be expensive. So you can look at job centres. You speak to Ruth. Very important. Speak to Ruth. Look at the job centre, job boards. You can advertise it. You can go on forums. You can talk to your friends. Talk to every person you know, and obviously use a recruiter as well. But remember, we're looking for lots of people at this stage. So when you're advertising, you do a very, very wide advert. Your spec will be very, very narrow, but you can't just advertise based on your spec because you'll only get 2 responses, and then you'll be very disappointed. You'll have wasted 700 quid, and if you don't like the 2 people come through the door, it's a bit of a waste of time. So we've done some wonderful adverts, we've got some fantastic people, and we've advertised, and we've got a big pile of CVs. Now, when you have a big pile of CVs, you do one of 2 things. You either go, yeah, you go, shit, I've got 300 CVs from this advert. That's not unusual these days. We're in a recess market. There are a lot of people who aren't working, so you will get high responses. So the next thing you have to do is you have to select.
Do you ever headhunt?
Yes, it's a large part of what I do as a recruiter. It's a large part of what I do. If you would like to know the secrets of headhunting, I will tell you. But it's very, very simple. When you just ring up receptions, they use your sales rep, and you get the name and the number, and then you ring them and say they've been headhunted. It's all very disappointing. Sorry. So the selection process. Actually, it's not really a selection process. I call it a deselection process because deselecting candidates is about making a candidate prove their worth at every stage of your process. You're going to be paying these people, you're going to be having them in your business, and then we float around and we have little chats and we think it's lovely. So if you select, you're going to get stuck, I promise. If you deselect, you're in a much better position to get a reasonable shortlist. On occasion, you might deselect to 0. If you deselect to 0, start again. Please do not take the best of the bad bunch. Again, you'd be amazed how many people do that because they panic. And the technical term in recruitment is they shit themselves. They have to do it because you very often get an MD that suddenly has to do the work of a salesperson all over again. And they've lost track, they're not as up to date with things, and they find themselves in that horrible position of not knowing what they're doing. And there's not very many MDs who can admit that they don't know what they're doing. So, we're now we've deselected, we've pushed things right down, and we've used the actual spec that we wrote earlier on and used that to really drill down on people. So what we do now is a 3-part interview process. To sift them, we've got to reduce it down, and we've got to make it easy for everybody to understand. So we all talk about ticking boxes. You've got to make the boxes to tick. So you do a big list of everything you want. Tick the boxes, the ones that tick your box and interview, and if they don't tick your boxes, you don't interview them. It's as simple as that. Then we move on to the interview process. First interviews, in my experience, shouldn't last any longer than an hour and are designed to put the meat on the bones for the CV, and they are designed to help an individual decide on whether somebody's got a good team fit within the organisation. My tip within interviewing is please don't try and wing it. What you need to do is put a list of interview questions together, and you need to print off a sheet for every single candidate. Once you've done that, you are ensured that you ask the same questions the same questions in the same order every single time. You don't allow your bias to go into the interview process, because it's very easy because you get chatting to people and tangents go off all over the place, but it really does cause problems because you might remember somebody that was really nice and made jam, but they were crap. But the person who was really good, you can't remember what their name was because they got put to the bottom of the pile because they didn't have nice shoes on like the other person. So in between your interviews, make lots of notes, have a wee, check on your work. It all sounds really obvious, but then when you speak to clients who've interviewed 8 people in a day, everything merges into one horrible mess if you're not careful. So on your notes section, on your note sheet with your crib questions on, make some observations about the candidate, because if you are seeing lots of people, you potentially will forget. So what their shoes were like, what their hair was like, if they had a funny eye, I don't know, whatever happens to be, make a note of it. Before you start interviewing, please find out, a good recruiter will work with you on this, or a good HR consultant will work with you on this, but please find out what you're allowed to ask and what you're not allowed to ask. I started in recruitment 15 years ago, and you could pretty much ask anybody anything. And now I fast forward 15 years to now, and I can't ask anybody anything. And it's a very different environment because you're not allowed to ask so many things. You're not even supposed to ask if someone's married anymore.
Where do we find out what we are allowed and not
You should be able to just Google it if you're doing it independently. It's some government websites, I would imagine, would have it on, wouldn't it? Would you say, Georgina?
Yeah, I mean, it's all the laws that underpins it, so I would just give us a call, it's fine. Just run the interview questions by someone in the know. It would take 5 minutes.
Exactly, yeah. Someone who knows it's easy, yeah. So when we've done the first interviews, we need to give feedback to candidates. Number 2 popular reason why recruiters are used. No one likes telling people no, except me, I love it. So you give the interview feedback as soon as possible, whether it's positive or negative. If nothing else, they'll stalk them. Oh, softly if you don't ring them. More importantly, all candidates are potential customers, and that's what you need to keep in mind. People do remember. Okay, so we've shortened the shortlist, we've done the first interviews, but we need to really drill down now and find out if they can do what it says on the tin. So, can they do what you're employing them to do? Do they have the experience? So you have to find out. Now, some roles will do very formal presentations, other roles will command something different. Sales Academy has got a client down in South Wales who runs a nursery, and for their second interview process, they bring potential new members of staff into the business for 2 hours to work. Gives the owner of the business the opportunity to see what this person really is like with children, and also how they're interacting with the other members of staff. Actually, it's 2 hours free labour that you wouldn't normally have had, so that's quite a nice way of doing it, I think. So every candidate that goes for every job has to prove their worth at every stage. I know I've said that before, but it really isn't just about who you like the best. And this second interview stage is where you really will find out, as long as you plan it properly and know your expectations and what you want to get out of that. So just a quick word about rejections, because you will have to reject people. You can't employ everybody. Best example I can give you is actually about 17 years old, actually, but my best friend at university applied for a role as cabin crew with Virgin. She had her first interview and she didn't get through to the next stage. She had a personalised letter of rejection from Richard Branson, and within that letter, where it gave standard interview rejection of, you know, you were great, but somebody else was better, good luck, blah, blah, blah. There was a £200 voucher for her next Virgin flight.
Wow.
Now that's a pretty reasonable amount of money if we go back 17 years. It's not a bad amount of money now. And really, really clever, because Jill was 15 feet tall, because even though she'd not got the job of her dreams, Richard Branson wrote to her and gave her money, which is great. But actually the reality is, she's not going to use that voucher, is she? Because if you've applied for one cabin crew job, you're going to apply for others. So that voucher is probably not going to get used. So it's a very clever way of using your business in a positive light. Okay, so now we've done the second interview and we found someone and they're brilliant. And you get to say the 2 best words in the English language. You're hired. So that's the fun bit, because you get to make a phone call and you offer somebody a job and it's great, and then you go, brilliant, are you going to send it out to me in writing? Yeah. So then you have to look at job offers, contracts, references, scary legal things. So how much of that is covered in your recruitment fee? Would you like to take a guess? Send the money hungry whore at the front of the room?
None of it?
None of it. None of it. Not my responsibility to collect references. That's quite scary, isn't it? Now actually, even if it was my responsibility as the recruiter to collect references, I would encourage you to collect references, because if I've got a great big fee resting on something, I'm not going to ring you and go, you know that candidate you love is going to pay my mortgage for the next 2 months? They're a bit shit. You're not going to do it, aren't you? So the hard fact is that recruitment is quite a cold industry. So in terms of the legal ramifications, please speak to a solicitor. Please speak to somebody like Georgina, who is much better placed to help in this situation than your standard money-hungry whore. Okay. Honestly, the stories I can tell you about recruitment quickly. Oh, I've got loads here. I'm not rushing. So, you've got to be prepared, and that is me, as a brownie and as a guide. I can tell you that if my sister were here this evening, seeing her face immortalised, she would absolutely lose me. But this final step is, they are clever, aren't they? They are really good. Okay, so step 5 is all about being prepared, and it's all those obvious things, you know, like making somebody's got a desk and a chair, and if they've been promised a company car, that it's in the car park when they get there. I know this one sounds really stupid, but I've had phone calls from very highly paid individuals. And I can't stay here. They haven't even got me a blue chair. Wow. I'll sort it out. How do you sort that out? It's a very interesting concept. Or the very famous client of mine who said to somebody who just started, can you just use the generic cards for a few weeks, just see how it goes? Went really well for the candidate because I got him another job. Okay. Ta-da! You are done. Following that process, believe it or not, you will recruit somebody. But before I shut up, which I will do in a minute, here comes a tangent. Very important, this tangent. Many of you will see the appeal of recruiting trainees or apprentices. What do you think? Good idea? Bad idea?
No experience.
Good idea? Bad idea? Anyone?
Does it not depend
Because you
on
don't
the
know till
individual?
after.
Depends on.
Everybody's got to start somewhere.
Absolutely. I'm not against them. I'm not. I love them. I'm against all you lot. I'm not against them.
Only if you hire them for less than a year. Just because even if you hire a temporary employee, if you have a longer than a year contract, you've got a permanent employee.
Absolutely. Okay. So my thoughts on this is baby chicks might be cheap, but they need a lot of looking after. More looking after than people realise. Because you know, they're old enough to get a job. They can get the bus to the office, they can work it out. You know what, can they? Can they? Really?
So the same about your graduates.
Oh God, they're the worst. They're all the worst because they're going skipping out of university because they've been told they've got a piece of paper, they're going to be in. I thought I was going to get 50 grand a year on my first job after I graduated. That was a shock. 12 grand. Oh dear. Hang on, this is not what it was supposed to be. We have to teach them to work before we can teach them the job. Well, unless you want your emails going out in text speak, in it. It's not going to work, is it? So they bring their baggage to work as well. An experienced person doesn't tend to come in. I mean, my boyfriend's done me, it's the end of the world. But trainees will. Because they don't know they're not supposed to. If we don't teach them this, they're never going to know. I hear a lot things like, well, it's cheap labour. Like, I'll just get them in and can do 6 months, all free in South Wales. And get them in, they do 6 months, and then we can get them out and we can get some more. Fantastic. Really? Really? What a waste of time. So, I tell you what would be easier. Don't employ that trainee. Don't employ that apprentice. Pick up the phone to your direct competition. Pick up the phone to your direct competition and tell them every business secret that you've got. Save a lot of time. Because what happens is your competitors will benefit from you pulling all that tacit knowledge out of your head and showing somebody else how to do it, and then going 6 months is off you go, I'll get the next one to do the photocopy and the make the tea. Because any recruiter, first thing they're trained, CV comes in, who did they work for, winning competition. So if you want to pass your knowledge to your competitors, that's the easiest way to do it. So I suppose in summary, you've got the power to decide, haven't you? Great power. That's great responsibility. It's just an excuse on geek. So we have covered creating job specs, searching for candidates, the deselection process, offering the job, and being prepared. I was prepared to show you a lovely picture of David Dimbleby. I just thought I couldn't put it up.
Dimbleby.
David Dimbleby.
Oh, okay.
For my question moment, so I'm not allowed, so I won't mention it. I'm not holding it. And I'll be coming around with prizes later. Thank you, Amanda, dear. Thank you much.
She has got a great picture of David Dimbleby because she wanted her own questions at the end, but we wanted to get off in a hurry.
Life's full of
Thank you so
disappointment.
much. And what we wanted to do this evening